it's a very rewarding career field. If you're not necessarily driven solely by a high salary and you're really looking for something you can be passionate about, healthcare is a great place to start, because truly at the end of it, you're looking at how is this impacting someone, whether it's a patient, whether it's trying to improve the experience for providers, trying to provide better healthcare coverage. In all of these areas, there's that aspect of meaningful work on the back end that really does drive the passion in the healthcare industry.
Hi, I'm Anna Anderson, CEO and founder of the Women in Project Management Network. I'm a project manager by profession, a career coach, a PMP trainer, and a LinkedIn learning instructor. But more importantly, I'm someone who's been in your shoes. Not too long ago, I was filled with doubt, stepping out of my comfort zone and navigating rejection after rejection. It wasn't an easy journey, but through perseverance, hard work, and lessons learned, I finally found my yes. That moment changed everything, not just for me, but for the many people I've since had the privilege to help. I've seen how lives transform when you have the right tools, when you have the right support and encouragement to pursue those six-figure project management roles. On the Project Management Connect Show, here I share inspiring stories from project managers who've gone through aspiring to hired. I also bring in industry experts, recruiters, and hiring managers to show us how it's done. Together, we'll explore practical strategies and actionable tips to help you on your journey. So whether you're just starting out, transitioning into project management, or looking to elevate your project management career, this podcast is for you. If project management feels like your calling, or if you're just exploring, it's time to dive in. So let's get started, fellow project manager. Your journey begins here. Hi everyone, today we have with us Logan. Logan is in the project management space. I think of Logan as a thought leader within the project management space as well. I have networked with Logan on LinkedIn, and today he's here with us just to share with us his background, his knowledge, his expertise within the project management space. Hi Logan, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Anna. I appreciate it.
Of course. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself to everyone who's listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Logan Langin. I'm currently a senior project manager with Sanford Health in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I've been in the project management space for almost 10 years now. Started out as a lab technician, a bench scientist by trade, turned that into a management role, which led to my first opportunity as a project manager in research in bench science. And then in 2021, I transitioned that opportunity into a senior project manager role with the healthcare organization itself, and moved out of research. And so I've been doing that since, and really enjoy my time working in healthcare.
Yeah. And I've, seen you and watched your story when you've shared that on LinkedIn, that you came from a non-traditional background. You came from lab technician, and now you are a senior project manager. What drew you to project management as a career?
It's funny when people ask me that question. Really what it was I knew, so it was probably about a year and a half into my career. I was, probably 24, maybe 25 at the time. I was really trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life, right? I was in research. I really enjoyed research, but I knew that in order to have more opportunity, I would have to go on to school for more schooling. And I knew I didn't want to go and get a PhD, which is typically required kind of in that science space. So I was really weighing, do I go get an MBA? What do I do to kind of drive myself more towards the business of research, or the business of healthcare, or the business of anything for that matter? And my wife worked in HR, and she said, hey, I'm seeing more and more of these project management positions starting to open up in our healthcare organization. At the time, we were establishing Workday as an HR platform, Salesforce, some of those larger platforms for overall business organizational use. And she's like, maybe it's something you could check out. And so I looked into it, and I was like, yeah, I feel like some of the skills that I've been developing over the last year and a half as a lab technician would be applicable. Maybe I should look into this a little bit more. And so that's really where my career pursuit of project management started. And from there, it was just, okay, what do I need to do? How do I become a project manager? And, where can I take it? Because again, I had no idea. This was 2016. And so I had no idea what I could be or what it could lead to. So, and from there, it was kind of off to the races.
Yeah, yeah. I love that story. I love that, first of all, your wife was looking out for you and being like, I see something out here. And also she recognized that you have some of those skills that could help you transition into project management. So speaking of skills, what are some of those that you feel like you transitioned even before you started knowing, like the hard skills? What are some of those skills that you feel like, you know what, I have this, I can take on these opportunities?
Yeah, at least at the beginning, a lot of it was just willingness to step in and try new things and try to implement new things. But a lot of it too was just learning and knowing and really looking to build repetitions around the things that are key to what we do as project managers on a day-to-day basis. It's truly seeking out what scope looks like. It's seeking out communication, and developing out communication avenues that are going to benefit your stakeholders. It's change management. It's, working within and through your teams to drive momentum through projects. It's reporting and understanding the differences between how you communicate to different people and different, at different levels. It's data analysis and metrics, which is very common in the science field. It's an area that I, have a lot of expertise in. But it's understanding, it's not just understanding metrics to measure, but metrics to understand impact and business impact and how organizational strategy is developed and pushed forward to ensure that you can keep the lights on and keep doing the work that you're doing. And so research really offered me a broad opportunity to develop a lot of different things to make myself successful towards those next step opportunities, towards a promotion into a research project manager position, which then led, building upon those skills even further with executive stakeholder management and, high visibility and complex projects and diverse teams, which led to my opportunity as a senior project manager. And so it really started out with curiosity and adaptability and just a willingness and openness to try new things and kind of throw my name in the ring as often as I could and look for those opportunities to improve the work that we were doing with tracking and metrics and things of that nature. And so it really started there. And then the soft skills were really key in being built out as I went along.
Yeah, you truly have to have that willingness to just start, because a lot of people, especially some people that I speak with, they're like, I'm scared, I'm nervous to get into project management. I feel like I don't have the skills. But then we continue talking. I'm like, do you listen to yourself? You actually do have the skills. Why don't you just go ahead and try? They're like, actually, you're right. I'm just going to go ahead and try. So now you are in healthcare space. For people who are trying to get into healthcare, though, what are some of the things that you're seeing that you would probably share with them? Hey, these are some of the things maybe you want to pay attention to if you want to be a project manager within the healthcare space.
Yeah, healthcare is an interesting area because it's one of the, at least in my experience, it's one of the industries that it's not, the business of healthcare touches on so many different areas, so many different departments. You're talking about the clinical aspects of healthcare where you're treating patients and you're trying to help people get healthy. But, you've got the entire business side of healthcare, and you've got healthcare insurance, and you've got operational and standardization. In my area, we have multiple regions. And so the different regions are able to, to some extent, identify the work that they need to do based on the specific needs of their specific market. And so you have to play in all of these different dynamics. And again, healthcare as an organization touches so many areas. When I think of banking or insurance or some of these other areas, they really focus on one thing, which is managing people's money. Healthcare is not that way. And so as a healthcare project manager, you're going to be on a lot of different projects with a lot of different stakeholders and a lot of different needs. At any point in time, I could be doing a clinical project, like a new software or a new software implementation or an enhancement, financial stewardship project, a facilities-based like construction support project, like lab test stand-ups, again, health insurance modifications. There's just so many different things that you can gain exposure to as a healthcare project manager. And so you have to be very open to the uncomfortable nature of not having a lot of information, because there's just so many different things that you can do. I think another key area to be very aware of when you're walking into healthcare is highly, highly regulated. And not that you have to be an expert in regulation, but you certainly need to be somebody who's willing to kind of open the door on what do I need to understand about government and state regulations as they pertain to healthcare and the work that we do. I mean, how do I work with those groups that, historically you wouldn't have to in maybe other areas because the regulations aren't nearly as strict. And so there's a lot that goes into it, but I will say it's a very rewarding career field. If you're not necessarily driven solely by a high salary and you're really looking for something you can be passionate about, healthcare is a great place to start, because truly at the end of it, you're looking at how is this impacting someone, whether it's a patient, whether it's trying to improve the experience for providers, trying to provide better healthcare coverage. In all of these areas, there's that aspect of meaningful work on the back end that really does drive the passion in the healthcare industry. And you can feel it with the teams that you're working with, where you're driven by that bigger meaning, that bigger impactful, state. And so for those reasons, it's an extremely rewarding and fulfilling career field if it's one that you want to, ultimately move into.
Yeah. I love first of all, that you use the word adaptability, because as project managers, you're going to be adaptable to different situations. And you just mentioned a lot of scenarios within the healthcare space. You also talked about ambiguity, like stepping into something that you're not familiar with, but you're helping, at the end of the day, improve people's lives, whether it's getting insurance or, building products that will help them at some point. That's really good. I remember when my son was born, the hospital that he was born at, they were just implementing Epic at that time. And I remember that time. And now, it's easier because people just log in and all the information is in there. But I remember the nurse at that time was like, we just got a new system. I have to log here. I have to log here. I'm sure now there's been tons of enhancements that have made it easier. And that's healthcare. You guys as project managers within the healthcare space, you're probably working on those just to make it easier for us as, consumers or nurses or end users have a good user experience. Thanks for sharing that background. So quick question back to now hard skills, certifications. Do you need to have a certification to get into project management? This argument is all over LinkedIn. A lot of the times people are like, you don't need a PMP. Yes, you need a PMP. I'm a PMP instructor. And I always tell people, if you're coming to my program, make sure it's something that you want. I'm not going to force you and tell you it's something that's required, because I started my role without a PMP and I eventually got it, and now I teach it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a complex question, a hot button topic always, and for good reason. I obtained my PMP in 2018. And so that was prior to even getting a formal project management title, which is not the case for everyone. But I know that in getting the opportunity I have today as a senior PM for an enterprise project management office, it was a benefit to have. Working within a PMO structure, most PMOs like the PMP and overall the framework that PMI establishes for the PMP as far as understanding what projects are, what project management is, and how it's applied, and really understanding the theory and the application of project management, knowing the language, understanding the frameworks, that kind of stuff. PMOs really thrive in that because so PMOs are all about standardization, right? Delivering the same quality of project regardless of where you're implementing it, how you're implementing it, or who you're implementing it for. Other organizations that either don't have PMOs, maybe aren't as formally integrated with project management, might not feel the same way about the PMP as like my organization. I certainly didn't need it for my role as a research project manager. My argument has always been, if you are truly pursuing project management, a PMP will never hurt you. It validates experience in a way that no other certifications really do in the project management space. And for that reason alone, it's beneficial to have. And so if you can afford it, if you are willing to take the time to take the exam, and you do truly want to pursue project management as a career, it will never hurt you. And so that's my personal feelings. And I have seen where it has benefited my career. I know plenty of people who never will go get it. I know other people who very much like you worked in project management for a number of years and were kind of told like, hey, why don't you have your PMP? It validates the, tons of experience you already have, and it could lead to promotional opportunity just because you have it. And so they've went and pursued that as well and gained opportunity because of it. So for those reasons, I wholly support it if you're doing it for the right reasons and you feel like from a project management perspective, it's going to help you. The one area or the one, kind of caveat to that is don't expect the PMP to be the thing that gets you the job. I certainly view it as a door opener. I certainly view it as something that will help get you in the room. But it's your job when you go to, whether it's in your resume on the front end and in the interview on the back end, you have to be very specific in the ways in which you're conveying your experience and making sure that it meets the needs of the roles that you're applying for.
Yeah.
If you just slap your, PMP at the top of up by your name on your resume and you walk in the door with your certification and think that that's going to get it, it's just not. The market is too saturated right now. There's too many competitive, great PMs out there that are also looking for opportunity. You got to really hone in on your strategies and do the right things to give yourself opportunities.
Yeah. It's just like a degree. After you graduate, there's no guarantee you're going to get a role. Because I've seen people like, now I got my PMP. Now what, Anna? Why aren't recruiters calling me? I'm like, it was an opportunity to open a door for you, not immediate entry. You still have to do a lot of things behind the scenes to help you get that role. Speaking of doing things behind the scenes, I met you on LinkedIn and you have, thrived on that platform. Tell everyone how you've used LinkedIn to leverage and share your knowledge and expertise to reach a lot of people.
Yeah. It's funny because I started posting on LinkedIn in April of 2022. So I gained my role as a senior project manager in October of 2021 and started posting on LinkedIn in 2022. I had heard for years about, the potential of LinkedIn and all of those things. And I never really took the leap. But I had always enjoyed kind of short form writing and things of that nature. And what I really found in sharing on LinkedIn, just sharing my journey, from being, how I got into project management, which kind of transitioned into how I got promoted and, how to thrive in a new role as a senior project manager. I really enjoyed sharing my insights and people responded accordingly. And, that just kind of naturally led me to A, share more, but then B, try to start putting together different resources that could help people. I've never really looked at LinkedIn as, I've always kind of held my 9 to 5 close and, LinkedIn is just kind of a fun thing that I do on the side and that I really enjoy. And so over the last, almost, 3 years now, I've really just tried to be genuine in what I'm sharing and, tried to help people with the areas that I felt that I struggled with, because they're not, none of what they're looking at from what I'm posting or anybody that's posting from a PM content creator perspective out there is anything different or new from the same journey that we've all traveled as project managers. We've all started the process at some point and recognized like, this is something that I like and it leverages my skills that I enjoy using. How do I get there? And then almost always for most of us at some point in time, whether you get the title right away and struggle through it because you're not fully prepared for it, or it takes you a long time to get that first opportunity, we all kind of go through that struggle of what is project management? How do I apply it? How do I get these opportunities? And then you get into those opportunities and again, kind of struggle through what it truly is and determining the difference between what you've always known as an individual contributor, if you've ever worked in individual contributor roles prior to now being a project manager and really delegating from the sidelines and really playing a different role, more of a coach than a player, and figuring out how to thrive in that space. And then from there, then it's, okay, I've been thriving in this space. What's the next things that are going to kind of set me over the top towards those next opportunities? How can I, better myself, better my skill set to lead at a higher level? And so I think for all of us, we kind of go through those struggles, and LinkedIn has really provided me an output to share those insights as I went through them. and let other people kind of see like, oh, this guy's gone through the same things as I have. Like, here's some footsteps for you to follow, so that so that you don't have to make your own, make your own path, but follow kind of a path that's already been traveled, and hopefully get you to where you want to go a little bit faster.
Yeah, but your story has, is genuine, and it speaks to tons of people, and they can see themselves in those situations. They're like, you know what, if he's done this, if he came from a non-traditional background and now he's a senior project manager, if he's sharing this was his journey, this is how he networked, I can follow the footsteps, as you're saying, and not start from scratch, and just, start from the things that you're sharing with them, and hopefully they help them as well. So that's what I really like about LinkedIn, especially if you're just sharing like your genuine story and people are following and can see themselves in your story. That's what, reaches a lot of people. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. So so I want to quickly go back to a couple of gears here, and I want to talk about leadership and stuff like that. You're a senior project manager in your role at Sanford Health. Tell us a little bit how you lead your projects, because it's probably, what's your experience like?
Yeah. So leadership at the level that I'm working at looks different than it did when I was in research. When I was in research, and not every project management experience is this way, but when I was in research, I was a project manager. I was still a bench scientist. I was a data analyzer. I was an individual contributor. Like, I was still doing a lot of day-to-day work on top of even running, on top of running projects. And so when I moved into a senior project management role, a big change for me, especially moving to an entirely new industry, was I'm no longer a subject matter expert in this area. And I really need to lean on my abilities to connect with people to ensure that the work moves forward appropriately, and support them in a way that they feel like they can trust me. So I feel like from a leadership perspective, those are some key points that you can really key in on, especially as you're moving up the ladder towards these promotional opportunities. Regardless of your role, as you move into leadership, it's less about you physically doing the work on a day-to-day basis, and more you supporting the people that that are either delegated to you, or you're working with, or are working under you, and really working to motivate and coach them in an appropriate way, so that they feel, able to do the work that you're asking them to do. On the flip side, because truly in a leadership position, you are a middleman, so to speak. Not only are you asking people below you sometimes, but in the case of project management, people kind of beside you, but in a different role, you're asking them to move along with you and do things for you. There are people above you that you're reporting to, not just your direct managers, but project sponsors, business leads, people that are maybe not necessarily your direct manager, but are affected by the work that you're doing. And so for us as project leaders, we really have to understand the messaging that we're putting out there, the, metrics and goals in which we're really trying to initiate, and the strategic alignment. Again, as you go higher up in the organization, it's less about the day-to-day, and it's more about how is the day-to-day affecting the business and its impact, short-term, long-term. And so you as a project manager and a project leader, as you're moving up those ranks, really have to start understanding your organization as a business and how the work you're doing impacts that business and overall strategy, whether it's growth, whether it's efficiency, whether it's revenue, whether it's cost savings. And it could be a combination of any of those. And so you as a leader really have to start understanding those conversations and being able to package up the information that you're receiving from your teams and communicate it effectively to whatever audience it needs to go to. Again, going back to being a senior project manager and leadership, you're working at this level, you're working with more complex teams. You're working with 10, 15 different departments with 5, 10 different persons from each. When you do the math on that, we're talking, 50, 100, 200 people. And so how do you, it's really talking through how do you keep all of those people engaged? And how do you effectively ensure that they have the information they need to continue to move forward in the ways in which you're asking them to? And so it's complex, certainly, but going back to what we talked about before, it's really developing out and having those reps and the soft skills, the incorporation of those soft skills, developing those good relationships and making allies out of your stakeholders over time, and building that trust and camaraderie that really helps facilitate that communication in the right way so that everyone can thrive in their role.
Yeah. Thanks for that answer. I truly appreciate it. And I'm sure whoever is listening, hopefully can resonate with your answer about leadership in project management. So if you were speaking to any person who was trying to transition, whether they're career changers or aspiring project managers, what are some of the things that you'll tell them? Here are the things you need to do to help you at least start transitioning into project management. What would you share?
Yeah, the first things that I would do, so there's a couple. The first thing I would do is really sit down and evaluate where you are in your current role and how you can start to integrate some of the repetition and experience needed to be a project manager into your current role. For me as a project manager, when I was looking into project management as a bench scientist, I really identified, okay, the experiments that we're doing are largely functioning within the framework of a larger project. And so if I can outline the work that I'm doing in an appropriate way, I can, I'm getting project management experience as I'm working through these different experiments with other groups, with my group, with myself, and really honing in on those skills that I knew would translate towards a next project management, a formal project management experience, as well as could be applied towards the PMP. And so it's really evaluating where in my career, where in my current role can I start building this skill set, developing out this experience that I'm going to need to leverage as I go along. Next, I would really strongly highlight networking. Start out in your organization if you have, PMs, a project management or office structure, something like that within your local organization or your current organization, and start reaching out to people, talk to them, ask them these things, talk to the hiring managers, the managers in these spaces, and ask them, what are you looking for in good candidates? What I come from this background, I'm really looking for some insight. I'd love to sit in, can I shadow a team member? Can I shadow a meeting? Can I, ask for the opportunity to start kind of seeing how this is applied at a level that you have not been exposed to yet? Not only will that help your development, but the development of that network itself will benefit you, because nobody gets where they want to go alone. And so if you've started the path towards that network and building out like a true project management support network, you can lean on those people to help you find opportunities as they come along. They're going to keep you top of mind as opportunities come along. And if you don't have that available to you, maybe you don't have project managers in your current organization or a PMO where you can kind of lean on, frameworks and understanding how to put things together and mentorship and some of that, I would highly and strongly suggest joining your local project management institute chapter, because again, they're local project managers to you. They don't necessarily work in your organization, but it's a group of project managers that are already actively doing project management and can really help you better understand what are those key steps that we can take. You can get a mentor. You can obviously attend networking functions and COPs and different events that'll help with continuous learning. And so those three things are really the key areas that I would highlight for an aspiring project manager or someone that's really just kind of starting to determine what is the path I need to take to become a project manager. Start evaluating your current skills and experience and how you can build on those. What's your secret sauce? What are your superpowers as a project manager, and how can you lean into those? Secondarily, the networking pieces. Whether it's in your organization or outside of it, really start to build those out as you go along.
Yeah. And truly networking goes a long way, because I feel like some people only think networking is through LinkedIn, but networking is outside of LinkedIn to your local community, your local people, even like local events that are, for business or careers or stuff like that. You'll meet tons of people. Even in this, like I'm a parent, And sometimes you meet other parents, what do you do? And that's how you start connecting and talking to them.
Yes.
So that's a great way. Your local, your school, whether you are religious, your local religious space that you go to, things like that. But you have to talk. You can't just keep quiet. You have to introduce yourself and share, this is what I'm looking for. What do you do, and stuff like that. And be intentional about it, because some people also try to be transactional about it. You're like, okay,
yeah,
we're just like trying to connect first. Let's not start sending each other resumes. And can you look at my resume? Send it here. You're like, oh my gosh, we just met. So that happens. All right. So as we wrap up here, Logan, what's next for you in your career?
Like I said, I've been a senior project manager for the last 3 years. I really enjoy what I'm doing. I really enjoy the variety that I get as a healthcare project manager. Obviously, I'm always open to opportunities as far as, what is kind of that next step, whether it's into a program management role or something, a PMO leader or something of that nature. I'm certainly open to those opportunities as they come along, and want to continue to just build the skill sets that I have now and continue to lean on the leaders that I have to help me continue to grow. As far as LinkedIn, I post pretty much every day. I have taken off probably less than 2 weeks over 3 years as far as posting is concerned. And I do have some resources on my LinkedIn profile. I would argue 90+% of them are free. Again, I didn't join LinkedIn necessarily thinking that I was going to make a bunch of money on it. And I've never put too much time into trying to make it my, a lucrative business. But again, I like sharing things that I feel like are going to help people. And so I've got a ton of different resources that can help people, whether it's breaking into your career. If you're a brand new project manager, how can you kind of kick off your first month as a project manager, as a formal project manager appropriately? I've got one for teachers specifically that are kind of looking to break into the space, because I get reached out to by a lot of them. And then probably my most recent one is just my 30 days to project management cohort. It used to be emails. Now it's just kind of a document, but it's really just meant to be kind of that starter of what are some actionable daily steps I can take over the course of the next 30 days to push my career in the direction that I want to take it. And so for me, that's what it is. It's just continuing to share things that I'm experiencing and trying to help others along the way, and continuing to try to thrive in my 9 to 5 and all those good things.
Yeah, and I'll share all that stuff on the show notes. So guys, please connect with Logan on LinkedIn. He has amazing resources to help you if you're looking to transition, or just any project management resources that he has that hopefully you find them helpful. And when you get them, please connect with him, endorse him with some of his skills, because that's just a good way of just saying thank you. All right, so Logan, thank you so much for joining me today. Any final words?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to be invited and share my insights, and glad that you have a podcast that people can listen to that's going to hopefully help them wherever they're at in their project management career journey. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I truly appreciate you. Thank you for coming on today. I'm hoping we can have more conversations like this, because I feel like I didn't even ask you all the questions I wanted to ask you, but I also want to be mindful of your time as well. So hopefully we can have this conversation again sometime in the future. Thank you so much for joining me today.